What's the creepiest thing that happened in your apartment? I moved into my new apartment a few months ago. It's an old building where you can hear every creak and groan, and the walls are paper thin. On my first night, I noticed the door at the end of the hall, apartment 3B. The door was slightly ajar, but no one ever seemed to go in or out. After a few days, I asked my neighbor, Mrs. Collins, about it. She gave me a puzzled look and said, "There is no 3B. You must be mistaken." I laughed it off, but that night I heard it. A soft tapping from the other side of the wall. Tap, tap, tap. It was faint, like someone gently tapping their knuckles. At first I thought it might be pipes or the old building settling, but it continued. Tap, tap, tap. It was rhythmic and deliberate. The next day, curiosity got the best of me. I walked down the hall to 3B. The door was still there, closed this time. I knocked. No answer. I tried the handle and it turned easily. The door creaked open. Inside, the air was cold and stale. A single chair faced the wall, my wall. On the floor beside it lay a notebook. I picked it up and flipped through the pages. Each page had the same phrase scrawled across it. Help me. Heart pounding, I backed out and slammed the door shut. I ran back to my apartment, but the tapping started again. Tap, tap, tap. I pressed my ear to the wall, and this time, I heard it. Faint whispering. A voice. My name. I bolted out of my apartment and banged on Mrs. Collins's door. "The tapping! From 3B, I shouted. "There's something in there." She looked at me, her face pale. "What are you talking about? There is no 3B. Look." I turned, and the door was gone. Just a solid brick wall where it had been moments ago. "No, it was right here," I insisted. "I was just inside," Mrs. Collins whispered. "It's starting again." "Starting? What's starting?" I demanded. "The building. It changes sometimes. Takes people in." Before I could respond, the tapping started again, louder. From inside my apartment. Tap, tap, tap. Terrified, I rushed back inside. The noise was coming from the wall, now frantic, desperate. I pressed my ear against it and heard a whisper. "Open the door." I pulled away, heart racing. There, on my living room wall, was a door. A door that wasn't there yesterday. I took a deep breath and grabbed the handle, yanking it open. A blast of cold air hit me, revealing a dark corridor stretching into the unknown. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from an unknown number read, "Whatever you do, don't go through the door." Ignoring the warning, I stepped through, determined to end this. The corridor twisted and turned, the walls narrowing. At the end, I found a cracked mirror. When I looked into it, I didn't see my reflection. Instead, I saw apartment 3B, with me sitting in the chair, pale and terrified. My reflection raised a hand, reaching toward me. I felt a strange pull, a compulsion to touch the glass. My hand moved closer on its own. Just as my fingers were about to meet the mirror, a voice, calm and clear, spoke from behind me. "Stop." I turned to see Mrs. Collins, but she wasn't old anymore. She looked young and strong. "If you touch it, you'll be trapped like the others," she warned. "That's how it takes you." I hesitated, staring at the mirror, at the terrified version of me inside. Then, with all my strength, I pulled my hand back. The mirror shattered, and the strange pull vanished. I stumbled back as the shards fell to the floor. The corridor around me faded, and I was back in my apartment. The door was gone. The tapping stopped. I took a deep breath, realizing it was over. I was free. Mrs. Collins appeared again, looking old once more. She gave me a knowing smile and said, "You're lucky. Not everyone escapes." She turned and walked away, disappearing down the hall. From that day forward, I never saw her again, and there was no sign of apartment 3B. The building remained as it was, old and creaky, but the sense of dread had lifted. I knew whatever had happened, I had broken free. And I knew then I would never let my curiosity get the best of me again.